Hey everyone, we're back at the Grand National Roaster Show at the Fairplex in Pomona. This is Thom Taylor for the Rodders Journal. What you're looking at here is an interesting piece of drag racing and hot rod history. This is the 1955 Nomad known as Shivado, and this was on the cover of Carcraft in the late 60s, I believe 69, and it's just this wild-ass street car that also happens to have a Toronado engine and transaxle in the back to help out with the wheel stands. So, yeah, this is a real deal. And it kind of went away for, I would say, many decades. And anyway, we're here with the owner, Larry what is it again?
Oriole, like the bird.
Oriole, like the bird.
Hello.
Say hi to the Rodders Journal.
Hi, Rodders Journal. Thanks for hearing my story.
Larry's out of, are you out of Phoenix?
Prescott Valley, Arizona.
Prescott Valley, okay. And the guy who originally built this thing like this is here also, so we'll be talking to him. But Larry owns the car now. So tell us, how'd you find it? What kind of condition was it in? How'd you buy it? You know, all that stuff. We don't need to know price or anything, but I mean, how.
It's actually, I knew Gary. I work in retail.
And Gary is?
Gary Kleckner, the original owner driver
Okay.
of the car, the guy who conceived this entire car.
Okay.
Knew him. Knew he was a hot rodder. Knew he was a race car driver. Didn't know the car. I started a little delivery business. Went over to his house with a big screen TV one day. Me and my assistant were walking through the garage, and I come to a screeching halt, look over and go, "That's a Nomad. Why is it so tall? Are those pipes coming out the back? Is that a scrape plate? What's under the hood?" And he's like, "Get the TV hooked up. I'll tell you all about it." So I go in, do my business, turn to him, "Okay, the Nomad." We come out, and he's like, "This is Shivado wheel stander." And he's like, "I can't drive it. I haven't driven it since 1988, so I've just had it sitting." And I'm like, "You're hiding this. Oh my gosh, you're hiding this from the world." And I'd go over to his house, formed a friendship with him, went over to his house for years. And one day I was sitting there, and we're talking about cars, of course. That's what we do. And Gary says to me, or I say to Gary, "I'm going to buy a 57 four-door because I need to turn a wrench. I don't have a car right now to play around with and soup up." And he's like, "Well, why don't you buy a 55 Nomad?" And I'm like, "Well, there's none in my price range." And he's like, "I want you to buy Shivado." Looked at me dead serious. His wife had to brace herself to keep from falling. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Gary. People have been trying to get Shivado from you for decades." And he's like, "You know what? Larry's a good friend of mine. He's passionate about the car. He's very close, so I can see the car when I need to. And honestly, he's the only man I know crazy enough to do 150 mile an hour wheelie." Psychological assessment aside, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I am so honored. This is incredible. This is unbelievable that I have the opportunity to buy Shivado. But I cannot afford Shivado. I just can't. I wish I could." He's like, I've designated you the driver, the next owner and driver of Shivado. So it's kind of done." And I'm like, "I can't afford your car." He's like, "I'm going to make it so you can't not afford my car." I went back to the CFO, who promptly shut me down. We talked about it. I worked together a business plan, current values, current nostalgia, enthusiasm that's going on right now. And he calls about 3 weeks later, and we're still at a stalemate as far as whether or not I can buy it. And he's like, "I know it's hard for you at that price. How about this price?" And I'm like, I'm gonna work on this. I go home and I'm talking to my wife, and she's like, "We can't afford it. We've still got a year to go on our mortgage, and not right now." And I'm like, "It's got to be now." We're down in Phoenix on this big boulevard one day, and we're driving along, and there's no traffic anywhere. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I could totally imagine driving Shavato down something straight and wide like this on 2 wheels, full blast. And she turns to me and says, "Listen, you are not to race the car. You can show the car. You can work on the car. You can have your friends come over and drool all over the car, but you are not to race the car." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I get the car? I did not. Oh, go ahead and get your dang toy." So 2 weeks later, I took a check to Gary and said, "The Shavato is mine." And about 3 weeks after that, I actually brought her home. And the rest is history. I parked the car in the garage and I walked around it so often because this car is all hand built. You know, the engine is fairly stock. I can work on that. Everything else has a purpose, and it was built for a purpose. And I had to know not only what they did, but how they did it. There's no manual for this car. It's all hand built. This thing has some incredible features, such as the subframe underneath the original frame, the taller frame.
I'm going to try to get you closer to this so that way they can hear you. It's
okay. The subframe underneath the taller frame has 4 bolts connecting it to 8 big plates under here. If you pull those 4 bolts, pull the brake lines, the shifter linkage, and a quick connect for electricity, you can raise the back of the car on a hoist, pull the entire subassembly out, and start it up. It'll run outside of the car.
It'll run outside the car.
It does not need the car needs it. So I have actually pulled the engine out 2 different times, the subframe assembly. The last time I put it back in by myself, running around each side, lining everything up to completion, took 45 minutes. It's so wonderfully engineered. A 2-man team can do it in under 20 minutes and have it running, pulling it out of the car or putting it back in. Really well engineered. It took Best Engineer to the 1968 San Diego Auto Exposition. For a garage-built car, not a shop, but a garage. This car is phenomenal. It never had an issue on the track. It always ran straight, ran true. The Hot Rod Magazine centerfold in '68 was done without steering brakes. He was running strictly on tire pressure.
Really?
This is the man here. This is Gary Kleckner.
Gary, how you doing? This is I'm Thom Taylor, and this is for Rodders Journal magazine. And so we're doing this live, okay, on their Facebook page. I always wanted to meet you because I figured you're a crazy son of a bitch for having done it.
And I wear it proudly.
So okay, I know a guy who's a great track photographer. His name's Mike Morgan.
Okay.
And he told me that his dad owned this car and had it before you did, and it was just a regular car.
Well, he might have had it for me, but if he had it for me, it was a piece of junk because I bought it off a junky little used car lot in Arcadia, California.
Man, I think he was from that area.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said it was green when his dad had it.
No. When I bought this car, it was a cruddy blue color that was kind of a made-up paint, I think.
Okay.
Because I never liked blue, and that was really a bad blue paint job. But I wanted a Nomad, and I wanted it right then. And so that's why I bought that one. And the price was right. Of course, I had to do a lot of work on it.
So if it was a California car, then it wasn't rusty. It was pretty decent in that respect, right?
The forged was so rusted, I had to cut them out with a hammer and chisel.
Really?
Yes, hammer and chisel, bare hands, and stuff like that. And it was just bad. And but I did it, and then I needed the room to put the engine in the back, so that's why I did it that way.
Why? Okay, so did you know all along that you were going to do this? Like this?
I knew that I always had a dream that I was going to build a car that meant something to everybody.
Yeah.
And when this Nomad came along, it gave me that chance. What happened, to tell you the truth, is this car came to me in a dream one night.
Okay.
Rear engine, all that stuff. And so when I once I had the dream, I told my crew chief Dino about it, and he says, well, we can do that. And I said, I know we can do it. I said, but I want to go wheel standing with it. And he says, wheel standing? I said, yeah. I said, and I don't just want to pop it up a line. I said, I want to go all the way down. The first run that we put on this car was in front of Steve Gibbs, who from
NHRA.
Well, NHRA, but he was track manager at Irwindale.
Yes.
I called him up and asked him one day. I says, Steve, I says, can we bring the car out and make a couple passes? And that was during the day. It was on a Wednesday. And he said, sure. So I went out. I stopped on the starting line. I got out. I adjusted the tire pressure just even, so I knew where my tires were at, because you want to go down the strip straight as possible.
I would think so.
You don't want it wandering off.
I would think you would not. No.
Because this is the poor steering brakes. So I started out with even tire pressures. I brought the car up and went 1,700 feet as straight as an arrow, all the way to the quarter mile and down to the shut-off area. And then I set it down before I ran out the end of the track. And because I didn't want to wreck it. And so I went back up to the line, and Steve says, can you do that again? I said, well, sure. And he said, why don't you come out and do it tonight in front of the crowd? And so what he said, I told him, I said, I'll do it, you know. And I went and got my crew chief and stuff like that. Went back at night, and we repeated the act. So we were really hooked on wheel standing then. And that's how it became the Shibata wheel standard. Shibata means, well, it's half Chevrolet and half Coronado.
Sure, yeah. Sure. So this, well, what was I going to ask here exactly? Because I got like 100 different questions about this thing. You'd never done a wheel stand before. How did you know, or had you?
Well, I had pulled wheel stands on the frontage road in front of my house, frontage road for the U-10 freeway in Monrovia, California. But don't tell anybody. And we couldn't get away with that now. But we did in those days.
Well, you could until the police and the helicopters come.
But the police were on my side back then, and they would block the street off for me.
Really? Oh my God!
Don't tell anybody. So, anyway, well, but I just didn't use. I had to do it more often than that, so I just ran when I wanted to. So, and there's pictures on our website or whatever that shows it actually running alongside the freeway on the frontage road, and I lived on that street. And Roger back here, where did he go? He lived on the street too. And so it's just a matter of record. That's what it is.
Okay, so this thing. So you knew all along it was going to be an exhibition car.
Oh yeah.
How were you able to it's street legal?
Mm-hmm.
How can it be street legal and be well? As far as we know, it's the only street legal wheel standard.
It always has been.
Right.
And
so how do you maintain it street legal and yet be a wheel standard?
You see there's street tires on the back of it right now?
There's 3...
See street tires on the back of it right now?
Yeah.
Okay, there's the tires. We had disc brakes on it. We had 4 braking disc brake calipers. Okay? So we could definitely stop it. I can stop it with a foot brake, or I can stop it with the steering brakes. They're both the same size calipers. All I have to do is pull the steering levers back for the steering, and that's a whole set of brakes right there by itself. But it also steers the car when it's on the rear wheels.
Can we go around to the side and open the door, and you can kind of show the steering levers?
Sure. Oh, okay. And Larry owns the car now.
Yes, I know.
2 years ago.
We talked to him about that because we wondered how he got it away from you.
There's the
All
two
right,
big
come
Hurst.
Come here.
There's the two big Hurst shift levers. You cradle those in your hand as you're going. If you start to drift, you just apply a slight amount of pressure
Really?
in the opposite direction, and just that small amount of friction on the brakes pulls you over. You don't want to give it a jerk and pirouette at 110.
Yeah,
That would be
I would
very,
think not.
very bad.
So have you wheels stood this car before?
I haven't hit the skid plates yet. I've got it to the fulcrum point where it was ready to either go or I set it down, and I did it in a place where I shouldn't be doing wheel stands, so I set it down.
And
I have a slight amount of responsibility left in me.
But is it fairly easy? It's a fairly light touch. So it's fairly
very
easy to do this.
Very easy. If you look through the windows in the floor, you'll see that there's not much down there. It is an original steel front, so there is some weight there. But there's also an extra 300 pounds welded in the back end to really give it a weight differential.
So I hope that people can see what we're seeing here. We're looking at a window in the floor, like a two-piece window, and there's another one over there. So you're mainly, when you get this thing up, you're mainly looking in that window, right, to see where you're going?
You're looking out the window at...
What are you looking at?
When I'm driving it, first off, you can't see out the upper windows because there's the dash is in the way. Second off, the bottom windows, that was mandated by NHRA, who is slowly kicking themselves out of drag racing. And they are, so we had to put those in the floor. You can't see down the track on those. They said, put them in anyway, so we did. So the way I go down the track is I look out the left window, and I have either center line if I'm running in the right lane. If I'm in the right lane, I've got the center line and I've got the guardrail as reference points. If those two should come together or overlap, or I lose one of my sight, then I know I'm going off one way or the other. I just suggested now with the steering. We used to do it with steering brakes.
Right.
However, I used to do it with tire pressure.
Tire pressure, right. That's what
and
you
that's
said,
where we start at now. Before we even pull it off the ground, we start with equal tire pressures again.
Right.
Because we want to know where the car is going to go straight down the strip. And so that is the main thing. You do your tire pressure first, then you use your steering as a backup. So you don't have to use it near as much.
Okay.
Just touch the knob and as slow as one side or the other of the car down, which will steer it back on the course.
Okay.
So,
all right.
One of the neat features back in 1968 was the wiring in this car. The high school kid, 17-year-old Bob Wilson, wired this car, and if you look down here, you're going to see a plexiglass access pin, and his wiring.
the whole car is wired like that.
I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's yeah, all these terminals. Oh yeah, there we go. Look at that. And this kid was 17 years old that did this?
17, 18 years old. They were seniors in high school. Arcadia High School.
Arcadia High School? Jeez.
As a hobby, he put together a
unbelievable
elevator panels, and those were used in
yeah, look at all this. Look at all this wiring. I don't know if you can see or not, but there's just a ton of yeah, look at this panel here. Did you kind of gut this thing to make it light, or have you kept it pretty much?
I didn't kick any more out of it than we had to, and the reason why I say that is I needed that room in the back for the drivetrain, and the firewall is still stock. Well, it's an aluminum one now, but as you see the gauge clusters and everything else, everything's stock.
And you front have the car.
No, we both have the car.
Yeah, you both.
we built a whole new mainframe, And then we back half the car with a second frame that is a subframe that sits underneath the main frame.
Yeah, he was showing us that. Yeah. Larry showed us that.
And anything you see between the frame rails is attached to the bottom frame, and the car will run without that, or the car will not run without the bottom frame. If we take that bottom frame out, well, we used to bring it in shows, and we drive it in, and 20 minutes later, Dino and I had the subframe out of the car, which holds the engine, trans, rear end, fuel system, cooling system, exhaust system.
It's all self-contained.
Right.
Battery.
And then we would battery, and we would fire it back up, not connect to the car in any way. 20 minutes after we pulled the car in place.
All right, let me walk around the car to kind of show everybody.
Okay.
And then, geez, I got a million more questions, but I can't, because we'll be here for like 2 hours, and I can't do that. Here's the spread from Hot Rod Magazine in, I think, 1970, was it? 68. And then here's the cover of Carcraft, March 69. And then let that penetrate your brain for a moment.
There's a story with that, how the picture came about. Dino, the crew chief, said, "I want a picture straight down the throat. I want a coming towards me picture. So I'm going to lay down with my feet towards you." And this
Jesus.
is late 60s or very early 70s. He's like, "And I'm going to snap some pictures, and I'm going to roll out of the way." Gary's like, "I need to know which way you're rolling, because if I have to bail out, I don't want to have to explain to your bride how I smeared you all over."
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
So he took the picture with his little camera, click, 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 and then rolled out of the way. No problems there. But just to stand in front of something, that a race car, a dragster that's racing towards you and taking pictures before you roll out of the way, you're laying in a pretty vulnerable position.
Yeah, I would say.
It takes almost as much intestinal fortitude as driving a car like this.
At the time this picture was taken, Dina was laying on the ground in front of it, and at that particular moment I was doing probably just a little over 60 miles an hour, and I was coming at him. You can see the dust being blown up through the exhaust.
Yeah.
And this was at Chino prison.
California Youth Authority. There was prison for young men.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Up to 25 years old. And
so why did you do it there?
Because we did car shows and stuff all over, and that was one of the car shows.
And they let you do it.
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, I got a funny story about that. But they had they let us do it and stuff. But the thing about that was, we had cars sitting on. It was a regular track. It was a regular asphalt track, and there were cars sitting around the track all over it, and we're pulling wheel stands right down towards the center.
I've got a picture of hot rods lined up, and this doing a wheel stand right down the middle of them. And I'm just like, man, one wrong move, and that's a lot of money.
All right, so there's the Carcraft. I'll pull back here, and we can take a look at the rest of this. See, this is what we kind of started with. So, Larry, so what's your plan now? What's your plan for this car?
My plan right now is to get it drivable in a wheel stand mode, run the heck out of it. Start the body work after this show. We want to get the body straight, get it sprayed, and get Manny working on lettering the car again. I really think that the lettering is an essential part of this car, even though I only ran with it for 3 years. It makes it iconic. I was at a car show last summer, and I spent 15 minutes convincing a guy that this was not a Shibato tribute car, that this was actually Shibato, but it didn't have the lettering, so he was very hard to convince.
Why is the lettering off of it now?
The lettering off is off because back in the 1971 Somar earthquake,
yes,
the car was sitting in the garage, and above the electric fender was sitting some Fenton wheels, and one of them fell down and hit on the top of the fin, and there was a body seam on the top of that fin, and it laid there open like a taco.
Really?
So we just said, okay, we're going to repaint the whole thing. Because I had just the week before, I went through and touched up all the black paint on the lettering on the left side of the car, and I was going to do the right side the next week, and I was going to work the colors and fresh them up so we didn't have to change the lettering that year. So, because I'm glad to see that Larry's going to build the car back like it was, which means the lettering will all be the same, and Manuel Race is going to do the lettering again. Manuel has been a personal friend of mine for 60 years. He's always done my lettering, or he's always done
Manuel's always done them? I know Manuel.
You know Manuel Race?
Sure, he's building that 36 right now.
That's
it's
right.
Sitting over in Building 5.
Is it in Building 5? Okay,
Yeah,
maybe we'll go over and see Manuel.
Sure.
Manuel also did the flames on the California Kid originally.
That's right, he did.
Yes.
And
great guy.
Manuel is, like I said, I've known him for 60 years, and I literally love the guy like a brother.
He's a great guy.
Even better than a brother.
He introduced us to Kenny Youngblood yesterday.
Yeah, I saw Kenny wandering around here too.
Yeah, that was an honor to meet as well.
Yeah.
Manuel and I have had some fun times throughout the year. And we just always stayed in close contact.
Well, to both of you, we're going to have to cut this short, but to both of you, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And, you know, when I saw this on the cover, well, it was before I was born, but when I saw it on the cover of CarCraft, that was like, I thought I'd seen the ultimate, I'll tell you. It was fantastic.
Thank you very
much. So thank you for building it, and thank you for getting it running again. Did it take a lot to get it running, or just kind of...
It took, the entire fuel system was shot. I had to hunt down pieces to rebuild everything, and that took a while. The internals, I didn't rebuild the engine.
Okay.
I tested the compression. Compression was fine. I dropped the oil since Gary would change it after 2 passes. The oil looked like it was brand new. It looked like it had just poured out of a bottle, even though it had been sitting for over 30 years.
And it runs on alcohol, right?
It runs on alcohol,
and nitro.
40% nitro.
So you put 40% pop in this thing?
Yes, we 40% nitro, the rest is alcohol.
Oh my God.
And
yes,
it'll talk to you. So, really talks to you.
Well, again, thank you. I mean, I've taken up enough of your time, but we've had a lot of people looking at it, and maybe we should see if people would be interested in hearing the story in Rodders Journal. Do you have a lot of pictures of it? Do you have a lot of vintage pictures?
We've got quite a few vintage pictures.
All right.
The card has a website on it. I have a lot of vintage pictures of the build and a lot of track.
Why don't you tell us what the website is?
www.shavato.com.
That's pretty easy. Okay.
Pretty simple.
Shavato.com.
Yep. And
right.
I have an email there. I was checking my emails earlier, and people have been, hey, I'm at the Grand National, saw your car, loved it, thanks for bringing it back.
Fantastic.
Loving to get those emails, keep them coming.
All right.
I can't believe it's here, and I can't believe how many people are so enthusiastic about this car. I'm blown away. I'm here, and I rolled into this building, and it does have 46-year-old paint, and I'm like, what am I doing here? All these show cars and everything. And I set up, and the crowds are just forming around it. And Gary, the perfect person, the spokesman of the car, he was there, he drove it. He's the only real driver of the car. And the people are.
We thought you were in an insane asylum.
Well,
he should be.
It's been rumored that I'm dead. It's been rumored that I'm divorced, and I'm not. I've been married. In August will be 55 years.
Wow.
To the same woman.
Wow. Very good.
And I'm going to stay married to that woman too.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to sign off, but thank you very much. This is Thom Taylor.
Before you sign off, thank you very much, Tom, for your interest in the Shavato. We really thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. We'll give it one last shot here, and then we'll sign off. So go to the website, buy some shirts, renew your subscription, get a hat, whatever. And if you're interested in seeing this in the Rodders Journal, you should tell them. And in the meantime, we're going to let you go. And we're going to be back with some more pretty soon. Thank you.